Do you wave your terrible towel when Renegade plays? Reach for a tasty cake when JJ shouts, "He scores!" Does the sound of an F1 engine make your heart race? Doing push-ups with a Nittany Lion after a TD? Then lend us an ear, and we will share the exhilaration of Steelers football, the excitement of Flyers hockey, the nail-biting finishes of F1, and the pride when we yell, "We are Penn State." Welcome to the SteelFlyers Show, the strangest combination of sports fandom since pineapple was put on pizza. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SteelFlyers Show. Boy, we've got a special guest here for you today. Two of them, actually, on the same screen. How about that? We got Joe Borek, the Professor Joe. How you doing, Joe?
Doing well. Well, hope everyone's well.
All right. And we got another special guest here, a new writer from FlyersNittyGritty.com. Got to check out all his great stuff on FlyersNittyGritty.com. How about it? Ryan Renuad. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me still.
You got it. You got it. All right. So today I wanted to get into something here because we're getting ready to have a scrimmage coming off here real soon tonight with the Flyers going to be an inter-squad scrimmage, and that's going to be on TV tonight about 7 o'clock. And you guys both posted some great articles about your lineups, about who you guys think are going to be in the lines for the games. Okay. And so, Joe, you put an article out on the 8th, and then you also put one out on the 10th, right, about your lineup for the offensive side and then your defensive pairs. And then you put a separate one out for special teams. And then, Ryan, you put an article out on Flyers Nitty Gritty on the 7th, and you put everything all in the same article. So that made it easy for me. Right? So that makes it all easy to read everything all in one shot. Right. Okay. So you guys each have your own opinions about who you guys think should be on the top line, second line, third line, who you guys think should be in your top defensive pair, second defensive pair, third, and who you guys think should be on the PP and the PK. Okay. So I wanted to get you guys' take on this and give you guys a chance to explain why you think each player should be on each line. Okay. So we'll start off with Joe. Joe, on your line one, okay, you have Giroux, Couturier, and Konechny. That's your line one. Okay. Now, am I reading that correctly? You have Couturier in the center, and then you have Giroux on the wing and Konechny on the wing, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And is this something why do you have Giroux and Couturier and Konechny on this top line?
Well, Giroux and Cooch obviously have been on a line together for a long time, so they've had chemistry for really years now, where TK has slotted up at times, especially last year with that line, so he's gotten more and more chemistry with them, plus plays a ton of power play minutes with those guys. So I think it would behoove the Flyers to just take advantage of that line 5-on-5 plus power play time, because then you're going to just get the best of both worlds there rather than just getting it from, take a quote from Miley Cyrus, rather than just getting it from one end. So I think that might as well be the way it goes, because you're going to get the best. And the best part of that line is, even though TK has become more of a winger in the NHL, he can still play center no matter who gets kicked off of the faceoff dot. You have all centers, so they're going to be able to still give you a good ample chance, especially because Giroux's going to be your second fiddle there, who's one of the best faceoff guys in the league, right with Couturier. So.
Okay, I got you. All right. So now, Ryan, you put an article out on Flyers Nitty Gritty on the 7th, and you put your first line out there. You have your first line as Claude Giroux, Sean Couturier, and Oscar Lindblom. Now, am I reading this correctly? Now, you have Claude Giroux on the wing, Sean Couturier in the center, and Oscar Lindblom on the wing as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so now why do you have – I noticed that there's some similarities there.
One difference.
Why do you – one difference, though. So why do you have Oscar up there instead of Konechny?
I think Oscar plays more of a complete game. I mean, Konechny's a very good player and everything, but I don't know. When I watch him play, he likes to give away the puck a lot. And, I mean, it's all right, but, again, you got to get back the puck. And, I mean, when you got two good players in Giroux and Couturier, as Joe said, they played very well together. They already had that chemistry. So, and, again, the Flyers are a young team. I wouldn't be interested to see them mix it up a bit.
Right. Okay. I could see I could see that. Okay. So now we'll go right back to you here, Ryan. On your second line, you have Travis Konechny on the wing. There was the difference now. So, and then you have Kevin Hayes in the center, and then you have Joel Farabee on the other wing. And so, did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay. So now, why do you have TK and Hayes and Farabee on the second line?
There was a line last year that they were playing together, and there was something that they had chemistry. That's something that I really enjoyed. The chemistry that Hayes brings to pretty much anyone he plays with is what I really like. And what he did with Farabee early on, and it worked out really well. And I feel like he can help Konechny there too, because again, Hayes is almost like a big body presence that he can almost get the puck to the tenacious kind of players like Konechny and Farabee.
Okay. All right. Joe, you have on your second line, and with your article that you put out, you have Lindblom on the wing, then you have Hayes, and then you have Joel Farabee on the other wing. Okay. Now, I read that correctly, right?
Yep.
Okay. So now why do you have I noticed that you have both of you guys have some differences here now with the second line. So why do you have Lindblom, Hayes, and Farabee?
Well, we both have Hayes and Farabee.
Farabee, right.
Again, there's one difference. I put Lindblom on the second because I just like what Ryan said about him for his first line. He does have more of an all-around game. I also feel when TK, I think this year you'll see him turn it over less because that's the biggest part of his game I see he needs to progress now because he got better on the other side of the puck in AV system, just like Voracek had his best defensive year in AV system. So I feel that's why he can be on the first line, and putting Lindblom, who's 6'1", with the big and always uses his body right, Hayes, along there with Farabee, who's also a full ice player who plays on both ends. I think that mixes well together because Farabee's your playmaker that can score, that's going to be able to set up Lindblom with the best of them. And then Lindblom's really that as well. He was on pace for a 30-goal scorer, but he's also still a pretty darn good passer. It's just we didn't get to see as much of that last year because of his unfortunate diagnosis. But now that he's back and fully healthy, I think putting his speed with the speed also for the size of 6'3" of Hayes, those two can really pair well and become a menace for goaltenders on the same line.
Exactly. You know, it's kind of amazing. And this is why I wanted to touch on this, because you guys' first two lines, the only difference is Lindblom and Konechny. And you guys have them swapped. That's the only difference on your top two lines. Okay. And quite frankly, I could see either one of those top two lines being the top lines that they roll with. I would not have a problem with either one of those being the top lines. My only thing is this, and I know that we're going to probably see Giroux more on the wing this year because of other, centers and the depth that we have up the middle. So I think we're going to see Giroux more on the wing too. But I do agree. I like both of those two lines you guys have there. I think those will be really well put together. I do like the chemistry that Hayes and Farabee developed last year, and I thought that was really, really good. Look, we already know that Giroux and Couturier, it doesn't matter who you put up there on that top line, they're going to be, good by the fact that they're up there with Giroux and Couturier. You know what I mean? So, you could put Morgan Frost in there, and I think that would really – I mean, he had a chance to do that last year, but I think if he had more ice time to do that and maybe less of a pressure on him, he might be able to do that too. Just an idea. I'm just throwing something out there. All right. Joe, we'll go back to you here on line 3. You have just the guy that I was talking about, Morgan Frost.
Frost.
Segue.
Right? Do you like that? Do you like how you did? Yeah. And the other guy that we were talking about was Nolan Patrick and Jake Voracek. So you got Patrick in the middle, right? And you got Frost and Voracek on the wings. Now, why do you have them at the line 3?
Well, Nolan coming back. Every report is he's fully healthy. Jake also commented on how great he looks. So I'm sure he'll be very happy to be playing on a line with him, complimenting how much he's seen his success. And I think putting him with that ample veteran that really had, honestly, in my opinion, his best, not points producing season, but just all-encompassing season under AV, because you never seen Voracek play PK minutes before, and you've never seen him play the defense he played last year. I think putting a veteran with Frost that's a veteran, that's a rookie playmaker with great potential elite developing hands. We saw him with that backhander for his first goal last year.
Yeah.
I think putting him with a veteran would be a great wise decision, and also putting Jake with Patrick, who he seems to already have great chemistry and just loves Nolan Patrick from all the quotes you've seen Voracek say about him so far. That's just a match made in heaven potentially there, and that will allow the youngster Frost to flourish and allow really Patrick to have no pressure when he comes in because he has two guys with immense skill on both ends for him, and now he also has Jake, who, like him, can play a full ice game.
Yeah, great
Frost
point.
still needs to develop more defense, but the other
right.
defensive game.
And Frost can also pick up the slack there with the face-off dot too if Patrick gets tossed.
Yes, he's also
Yeah. So okay, I like that line three. So now Ryan, on your line three, we've got two differences and one the same. So we'll read off the third line that you selected is JVR, James Van Riemsdyk on the wing. You got Nolan Patrick up the middle at the center, and you got Scotty Lawton out there on the wing. So now, why do you have you have Nolan Patrick as the center, both of you guys do on this third line, but you have JVR and Lawton on this wing. Why do you have it set up like this for you, Ryan? What's the deal here with this?
The line three was probably my hardest one to work with because, again, in my opinion, I feel like your third line should be your checking line, your forechecking line. And for me, this is very hard to decipher because you got players like Knack, who I originally wanted on the third line, but then you got a Swiss Army knife kind of player like Scott Lawton, who can almost play any position, fit him in any position, fit him in any role.
Yep.
And then you got a player like JVR. I feel like he's got a nose for that front of the net or deflections. You can put him in anywhere, too. It's like this third line was the hardest for me. My originally plans for this third line was actually to have Frost up there along with Scott Lawton, and then have Knack on the right side. But again, it was so hard to decide because, again, this team
that's a horrible problem to have, right?
Yeah, there's so much depth. It's a horrible problem. I completely 100% agree with Ryan on that. And I think what I had to come to realize, because I have the old school mentality, kind of like you, Rye, where the third line, for all of our time, pretty much has been that forechecking line. But you look at so many teams nowadays, it's not necessarily where they're fourth line, and then they just have those gadget players that are great forecheckers, like Knack, for example, who's not just a good forechecker, but a good overall all-around player that can forecheck. That's kind of where the game's going now. So I feel like I'm kind of banking on Patrick, from how everyone says how healthy he is, to be that more forechecker and use his body more early than some others expect.
Yeah.
So that's more why I went with that third line, because I feel Voracek is also, a pain in the butt for opposing TC teams.
I was going to say
him out a lot. So yeah, he can be a pain for the other team.
That's one thing I liked about yours, because yours was very top heavy, especially on the center position and then on the right side. Because again, Voracek is a big body, and I mean, he gets the puck out of pretty much any position. He's very good forechecker. He likes to
digs it out. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
look, we all talk about the fact that the Flyers were missing a third C. Right. And with Patrick coming back, everybody has automatically slotted him into that spot. And I'll be real honest with you. Okay. I'd much rather see him in a higher line. And I would much rather see somebody like Scotty Lawton as the 3C.
Yeah, me.
Okay. But that's just me. So
the thing is, though, like Patrick, I feel like he still has time to develop. Because again, coming back from migraine issues, and it's almost like a concussion type thing. It's like something you don't want to mess around with.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
I agree with it. That's why I put him as 3C. I think.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about it.
Slower, and not rush it. And if he moves up later, he'll move up later. But it's also just how much depth you have. I don't think
the depth on this team will make you scratch your head.
But that's the thing that you even pointed out there too, Joe, with your line three, with putting Frost up there with somebody like Voracek. Okay, and then even putting Patrick in there with Voracek too, because Patrick is coming back, hasn't played hockey in how long? well over a year.
Yeah,
Frost hasn't played hockey in almost a year now, 11 months, right? So, I mean, I get it, but I like you guys' lines of thinking on this for your third lines, and I like I think we're going to see a rotation of players that are going to move up and down the lineup, with the exception, I think, of the top two lines. I think you're going to see that top line, maybe the second line, stay the same throughout. You know what I mean? I think you're going to get more of the rotations in the third and fourth line. So speaking of fourth lines, so we'll go with you, Ryan. On your fourth line, you got the convert of Samuel Morin. Right? And then you put Morgan Frost there in the middle, and then you got Knack on the other wing. Okay? Right. So what do you think about that, man? Why do you got him like that?
For me, it was more just having Samuel Morin again. Like, I mean, I know he can't keep up with Morgan Frost, but again, like, when you got a guy like Knack who can forecheck well, can help you dig out the puck, and if you can place a big body like Sam Morin in front of the net, I mean, not to take one out of Chicago Blackhawks rulebook here, but again, they did it to us in 2010. They did it with the Canucks way back when.
Yeah. They
just put him in front of the net, and that was it. Any goalie had a problem with it? That's your problem. Here you
go. Exactly. No, I like your thinking on that too, because that's exactly what they asked Sam to do, was to come in and be out there and be on the wing. You know what I mean? And I kind of see where you're going with that too, because Knack is that really good grinder forechecker guy, right? And then you got Morgan Frost, who is that up and coming offensive type of player, and then you got Sam Morin, who's that guy who can be that net front presence, who can be that guy who's going to take care of things. You know what I mean? So, all right, I can see that fourth line.
It's so hard to decide, though. Like,
I know, because
there's that one
so
too.
many guys. Joe, all right, fourth line for you. You got JVR, and then you got Lawton in the middle, and then you got Knack on the end. So you guys have some slight differences here. You still have Knack on the fourth line, but you have Lawtz down there at center, and then you got JVR down there. So why do you have this like this for this, Joe?
Yeah, well, I think it's just because of the immense depth on our team. Lawton's obviously a Swiss Army knife that can even play on your second line if need be through your fourth. So I think he's just going to play on the fourth, because he also, when he gets the chance, is a pretty ample and at times very good face-off guy. So I think putting him in at the C when he's next to JVR might actually help to benefit JVR too, because we saw Lawton. We always thought there was more offense there in his game, and you finally saw it emerging, because you always heard the reports as soon as anyone called about Scott Lawton, whether it was back when Hextall was here or Fletcher, it'd be nope, it's goodbye.
Yep.
Because they always thought there was more potential there. So I think putting him on the fourth line with a guy like JVR, who similarly to Morin can kind of just park himself in front of the net and benefit that way, use his hands in front of the net if he can commit to that game, that can work out really well. And then you have Knack, who does everything, forechecks, has a very nice pass, has a very underrated shot, as one of the more underrated shots. I think I said that in the article on the team. Yeah, so you have a guy like JVR that can set him up, and you have a guy obviously like Lawton. I think that's why you need Lawton on the fourth line, because he really is able to set up those other two, compared to if you put down a guy like, I'm not sure how proven Frost is yet as a passer in the NHL compared to using his finesse to get actual scoring. That's more why I went with the more veteran and Scott Lawton there, and put Frost more on a scoring line, that he can just be more of a scorer in his first full season rather than have to worry about playmaking as much. But
yeah, I mean, we have some depth, and so we have some good problems, meaning that we're going to have guys that are going to rotate in and out. Okay. And our quote unquote taxi squad, and our quote unquote taxi squad is going to consist of some really, really good players, I feel. Go.
I was going to say about Morin too. I think the thing with him is he's been doing really well in camp, but I feel it would behoove them to let him have a little bit more practice under his belt, doing like scrimmages and practice on the wing position before you just throw him in, especially against a rival like Pittsburgh in game one. Like, I feel like it would be a little bit better to ease that in, and then over time he's going to be a guy that probably does platooning, because I forgot, like the one guy did point out on Facebook, he would have to go through waivers to go to the AHL, so he definitely will be on the taxi squad. They're not, if they didn't have to send him through waivers, that probably would be the best route so you could get the most playing time. But they can't do that, so he'll be on the taxi squad. And I think if he's not one of the healthy scratches, and I think he'll platoon in if he's a healthy scratch. If he's on a taxi squad, like Loppy said on a podcast I was listening to, that's like calling people up. You can't just platoon those guys in. So it depends if they put more in as a scratch or if they put him on the taxi squad, how much he'll probably end up playing.
Okay, great point, man. Great point.
Or
both of you guys,
like Ryan had.
Yeah. Both of you guys though have Raffle out, not even in the lineup.
It's
Ryan. Ryan, why do you have him out?
Raffle, I mean, it was very hard for me to, because again, I originally had him on my fourth line, but when you got a team like this, like, it was so hard for me to decide, because I personally want the Flyers to get younger, because it's kind of like how the league is going now. It's like they're trying to show the young talent, the up-and-coming talent, and I feel like the Flyers, when it comes to talent, they know how to get talent, but they also know how to develop their core talent. I mean, we've seen it with the Phantoms over the years. We've seen it with Chicago even. Like, they started with the Rockford Ice Hogs. It all starts with the talent in your farm system, and then what you develop usually shows up on the team. But I guess a lot of the players that I do have,
makes it tough.
They haven't shown up. I mean, Knack has done good, but it was so hard. The third and fourth lines for me were the toughest, because you got so many good players, like the Voraceks, the Raffle. Like, Raffle's a very good player too.
Right.
Voracek, I mean, he commands presence. Like, he's got very good puck presence.
Yeah.
Right.
It was very hard for me to decide.
Okay. So, Joe, why do you have Raffle sitting out?
Well, hey, listen, with this team, there's so much depth. Like I said, he's a veteran, and what I mean by that is, in the sense of, I agree with Ryan, I think this team wants to see where some of the younger guys can go. I think Raffle is on the, well, not think, he is on the last year of his deal. I think he's kind of coming to the end of his tenure. He had a great run here in Philly. We gave him a chance as a undrafted guy. He really played very well for us, and we owe a lot of debt to Raffle for being a great PK player. And he also potted 20 goals that one year. So he's a very fun player to watch, but I think it's just, when you have younger guys come in, normally those great bottom six guys are the guys that get dwindled out over time. So I feel like he's going to be more of a scratch this year. And the big thing with how much depth we have is someone that deserves to be a scratch and not on the taxi squad is going to be on the taxi squad. Like, for example, Connor Gunnaman doesn't deserve to be on a taxi squad. With how good he's been performing in camp and how good he did last year at times when we put him in, he should actually be at least a scratch, but he's probably going to be on the taxi squad if Morin and Raffle end up being your scratches at forward. So
no, I agree 100%. Look, we have some good problems, and it's going to be interesting because of the taxi squad and how that's all going to go. So let's go into the defensive pairs. And so let's start with Joe first on the defensive pair. Your top pair for the Flyers going into the season, you have the great Ivan Provorov paired with Shane Gostisbehere. Ooh, you go, Joe. Tell me why. Give it to me.
Well, this, of course, has to go with the COVID protocols if we're safe. Coast is able to go on Tuesday because of But if he's able to go, I feel like it behooves the Flyers, now that there's Bill Metzger reported and many others as well, Philadelphia area reporters as well as Jamie, that he's been fully healthy now. He's felt the best. We had reports that he was coming back feeling fully healthy during parts of last year, but now that he's got a full off season to really work on his game and feel fully healthy for the first time in an even shorter off season, still an off season, I think that's huge to have that, to be able to really work on things. And I think putting him, Steve, honestly, Pirlo convinced me of this when I talked to him on Skype the other day. Putting him with your best defender is the best decision, because Provorov can do it all. He's going to protect goals, and Ghost
Yeah.
is going to be able to flourish the best
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the offensive zone and maybe be able to come back to being the old Gostisbehere if he knows he has the luxury of having Ivan Provorov as his mate to be
Yeah,
able
yeah,
to
yeah.
protect him. So that's
Oh my
why
gosh.
I feel
Yeah.
that that's a very good idea there. And also, we have to remember when Ghost first came up, if he has the legs, he was never the best stand-up defender, but he could get back for an opposing rush.
Because he had the speed.
So, yeah, so if
Yeah,
he's able to
because
do
he had the
that
speed.
again, that will be a much added bonus as well.
Agreed. And then without the knee injuries hindering him, you know what I mean? Now maybe he will have his legs underneath him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So Ryan, you talk for your first pair, you got the same Ivan Provorov, which look, that was just kind of a no-brainer. Everybody knew that Ivan was going to be the top guy, right? Come on. But you have Phil Myers.
Mm-hmm.
And are you putting Phil Myers up there for the same reason that maybe Joe put Shane up there, or why do you have Phil Myers up there with Provorov?
I have Myers up there because I feel like he's earned his wings. I don't know. I feel like he's put in the time and effort, and he's a big body presence. He can. Provorov, as we know, he logs big minutes. The guy never takes a shift off.
Right.
But when you got a guy, again, another right-handed shot, I think it would help benefit the team on forechecking. But at the same time, it's like I really like Phil Myers because, again, he's one of those players that has worked his butt off. He can work his way up, and he can be right up there with Provy. And I think he can definitely develop his game from Provy, too. He can definitely learn a lot. He's already a two-way defender, but he's more known for his quarterback play on the power play. But I feel like he can definitely learn a few from Provorov.
Yeah, for sure. Because, Provorov, he's already come out and said that he's learned from Niski.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
From playing from Niski, yeah.
Presence.
So that's a great point that putting Myers up there with Provorov. Oh, okay, I like that. I like that. Look, I kind of thought that was going to be what was going to happen initially. You know what I mean? But then as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about maybe throwing Gustafsson or Gostisbehere up there with Provorov just for that reason. Because Provorov is that stay-at-home, shut-down defenseman, and then if you have one of those guys, then you want to put one of those guys that's more of a puck mover, more of an offensive-minded guy like Gustafsson or Gostisbehere. Okay, so that's kind of how I would be looking at the top pair. So now, Ryan, we'll come back to you now on the top or the second pair that you have for your D, and you have Robert Haig, which, oh yeah, I'm down. I like Haig. And you got Travis Sanheim. Okay, now that's your second pair. All right, now so why do you have Haig and Sanheim as your second pair?
I'm a big fan of Sanheim's game. He's a good player on the power play. He's another defenseman who plays a good two-way style of play. And I feel like Haig, he finishes his checks, and that's what you want to look for. Especially,
yeah, I think we all like that, right?
And especially with the season being so young, that's one thing you want to look for is presence. And I feel like he could actually do that with Sanheim. Even still, Haig can also learn from Sanheim. But even defense, again, like the forward situation, we're stacked. We can twist it and turn it until we feel like what we're thinking, but it's like, holy crap, where do I even begin? Because, again, we're still young, but, again, we still got good vets that can help lead this team to a very good charge. And I feel like the young guns can actually take over.
Okay. I'm kind of in that same boat, man. I'm in the same boat. I'd much rather see the younger guys coming up playing more so than some of the other players. You know what I mean? So with that said, Joe, your second pair, you got one player the same, and then you got one that's different. So you got Travis Sanheim up on the second pair, and then you got Myers, Philip Myers, as the partner for Sanheim. And so what's your reasoning behind that, Joe?
Well, from kind of reading and listening to different pieces, podcasts, or articles I've read, it seems like that's something the Flyers have had interest in trying, and you can see why, because both are good skaters, both are good developing two-way players, and obviously Myers is one of the best scouting successes of the Flyers, getting him undrafted to now become a quality top four defender, wherever you kind of want to put him in that top four. I think this line just works very well because for me, Sanheim is like our mini Provorov that kind of does it all, but obviously doesn't have the skill of Provorov at least yet. Where that is something that I think he pairs well with Myers because Myers is able to kind of go up on the play and use his great wrist shot that he actually has. And then Sanheim is the guy that just like Provy for Gostisbehere will stay back a little bit because out of Myers and Sanheim, Myers to me is the guy that kind of jumps up on the play a bit more where Sanheim has that ability, but he just likes to be that all-around guy and has the mentality to be that all-around guy, so he don't do it as much. So I think having that protection for Myers too via Sanheim is a very good idea, and I think having those two together could become one of the better defensive and offensive defensive pairings in the league potentially.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. An offensive defensive pairing. Yeah, there you go.
That could become a good pairing that does well defensive numbers wise, but then really helps produce for your 5-on-5 offense as well to get the pucks up to the forwards and really kind of get it from your end to the other end in quick succession.
Exactly. Good. They both have a good transition game. Okay, and I think that they're good at moving the puck as well, getting that first two passes up out of the defensive zone and into the transition zone and up ice to the forward. So I'm with you on that second pair, and I like that combination. I like your thinking on that too. Okay, so now we'll stay with Joe and we'll go with your third pair here. And here you have the newly acquired Gustafsson with Robert Hägg. Okay, so now why do you have these two guys put together? I mean, I kind of think I know why, but lay it on me, man.
Yeah, I think this one's probably simple when fans hear it. They probably know why. Hagg's your bruiser, great defensive defenseman, can just kill anybody out there on the ice pretty much other than Zdeno Chara. So I think, and Victor Hedman, but I think that that Hägg is a guy that really has earned the right. I was telling this to the great Jamie Baskow, talking to him of Flyers Nitty Gritty as well, that he's earned the right to be that protector guy. He's proven to me that he can be an offensive defenseman's protector at this point. So I think even though I have him on my third pairing, he's actually one of our most important defensemen in the way I have this laid out because Gus likes to play a lot like a forward at times and really jump up on the play. So that is also why on my fourth forward line, since sometimes you're going to have the third defensive pairing pair with your fourth forward line and your bottom six, I wanted to put Lawton to add more defense down in the bottom six on both lines as well, because it helps to protect that defensive line. That's why I made my forward lines a little bit more defensive and try to make them defensive and offensive-centric. Because I think Gus is going to be starting for the simple reason of I think the reason we brought him in was our power play was pretty damning in the second half of last season.
It was.
And I think that's why you bring him in to man your second or first power play unit, whatever you decide, and really help that. And then Ghost is your other guy. And then Provy's able to rest more and not always be on the power play and play an as ridiculous amount of minutes to make him more taxed by the end of the season.
Exactly. Those are great points, man. And, you know, now that you look at it, I'm thinking about it here. You got JVR with Lawton and Knack with Gustafsson and Hägg. Ooh, all right. That's not a bad little fly there. So, Ryan, your third pair is slightly different, of course. But that's what makes us so good because you have a much different opinion about the third line. So why don't you tell me why you have Shane Gostisbehere and Justin Braun on your third line?
It's more for Shane's redevelopment. I mean, I felt like for the longest time he almost needed time to get back developed and learn how to get back to his 7-point Union College days. I mean, I loved him when he was like that kind of player. He was a good dynamic. I mean, I'm pretty sure he still holds a record for most points by a defenseman. I mean, Gostisbehere, he was once a very good threat, but I also wonder, like, can he get back to top form by learning from, again, the aforementioned Justin Braun, who is another offensive type player. But at the same time, I also feel like Ghost can also learn a bit from Braun too, defense. Because, again, I feel like Ghost doesn't play well enough defensively that, I don't know. It's hard to say. that without criticizing, but it's not criticizing. It's just more constructive criticism because we know Ghost, he can play really good offensively, but when it comes to getting back in the play and all that stuff, this is where I lose faith in him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly, I mean, you make a great point because AV lost faith in him too. And that's why he was sitting. Now, I think some of it was because of the fact that he was hurt, but the fact that he wasn't playing a 200-foot game and wasn't being, when you're a D man, you're supposed to be responsible for the D first and then the offensive second.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I think that Ghost is bought in to the system. And I think we got to see that. Yeah, it seems like that happened during the playoffs. Because even though Ghost only got in for, 2 games?
Mm-hmm.
He made the most of those 2 games that he got in, and he looked really well. Okay, so I don't know. I think he bought in. I like you guys' lines of thinking on this.
Well,
I like how you guys have put together your lines.
I think Ryan did for Braun's the protection for Ghost, where I just have Ag as a protection for Gus. It's just similar, just with different people.
But then he also has Moran and Frost and Knack on his 4th line. Right, so I think part of that reason,
I
though.
was just saying, I think with different cats is a little bit of the same on the third defensive pair.
Well, the thing with Moran is that he's a big body presence. He can definitely protect those young guns that we have.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, like we've said, he's the new sheriff in town. He'll be wrecking havoc. He'll be like Buffett pulling 2 bodies out of a pile.
Well, hopefully we can get to see some of that. You know what I mean? So, look, I don't think there's any doubts about our goalies rolling into the season. We both think we all think Carter Hart, Brian Elliott. That's why Brian Elliott was brought back. I don't even think we need to go there. No. The only question.
Know if anybody saw what I said on mine when I got down to goalies, I just said, all I have to say about this one is hot dog. We got a franchise goaltender with a legit backup in Elliott. Praise the hockey gods. So
that's right.
Pretty much
that's why I left it at that. That's why I left it at that, because I didn't want to necessarily go into hot dog and all that. But
well, my original plans were actually to have I know Lyon's not the greatest goalie, but I mean, when he got called up from Scott Gordon a couple of years ago, I felt like he was going to be a good goalie. I mean, this is when we were going through our goaltending woes before we got Carter Hart involved. I mean, he was involved, but I don't know, man. We still have so much depth. It is very hard to decide.
Okay, but see, I think we're missing some depth at goal.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't think that Alex Lyon is the guy. Okay, and unfortunately, I disagree with this signing. So, but that's me. I'm not the one signing the check. So I'm just my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think he can be a 3rd string goaltender because, for example, I don't think
that's what he's gonna be.
I mean, I think when you call him up, he stepped up against Colorado last year.
That's what I'm saying.
He did, right.
League. So I think AV, when he commented on him last year, he said, I have full confidence in him. That's why I threw him in against this team. I think his system, Lyon will play finding because AV, whenever a certain goalie comes in, he's a coach that just learns whatever behooves that goalie, like a football coach with a quarterback, and then mans his defenders and forwards to do exactly that, to protect that specific goaltender.
Yep.
So I feel like that's why keeping Lyon was a good decision for the Flyers, because they already know him. There's no point at signing a 3rd stringer that you have to figure out, because also Usti stepped up in a sense last year, but is now injured, so he won't be back for a bit. Out. So now Sandstrom is really your 4th deep guy who has had a lot of promise, but then had injuries himself. So if he's able to come back and show that in the AHL and actually start good for the Phantoms, then you probably could use him as a backup if need be. But hopefully we don't have to get to that point. And if we do, hopefully it's not because Hart gets injured and it's because, no offense to Brian Elliott, I love Brian Elliott, but our backup gets injured compared to our starter for a short time.
Well, I think we're going to see, we're probably going to see Felix Sandstrom at least. He might be rotated in the taxi squad or something, you know what I mean? Because depending on what happens with COVID or if anybody is out, we might there might be a chance.
That's what I mean. He might come to the taxi squad. So I do agree. I think Felix is more of a guy that's going to start in the AHL this year instead of trying to come up. And so we'll see how that goes. I still think that we're pretty set as far as goal is concerned. Even if we have to have Alex Lyons step in for a game or two, okay. Okay. We'll see how that goes. So now let's break out into the meat, the special teams. This is the real nitty gritty. This is where it all comes down to it. This is where the rubber meets the road. And last year in the playoffs, the rubber did not meet the road for the Flyers at all. In fact, the rubber wasn't meeting anything. It wasn't meeting sticks or nets or nothing. Okay,
it's been atrocious.
Okay, so we'll start with you, Ryan. You got on the PP1, unit number 1. We got Travis Konechny, Sean Couturier, Oscar Lindblom, Claude Giroux, and Ivan Provorov. Okay, so now why do you have this group of players as your power play unit number 1?
Just more so for scoring from the point, actually. I mean, the Flyers we're one of those teams that we're known for scoring from the blue line, with the likes of Kimmo Timonen, the Coburns. I mean, Gostisbehere. But I feel like, especially with Giroux's game, the way it's evolved, especially from moving to the wing from the center position, I feel like he can also almost help him develop his game almost into two-way center, which is almost something else what we need from the team, because, again, it's something that the Flyers are really good at utilizing their players for. They've done it with Scott Laughton. They've done it with, Sean Couturier is already a given, but there was... Yeah.
Raffle, you thinking of maybe from before?
Yeah, Raffle.
Brought up Raffle.
Yeah. And yeah, that's probably where I messed up. But also at the same time, I feel like they can also be better, like get more grindy in front of the net, especially when you get a nice booming shot from either Ivan Provorov or Claude Giroux. And what better way to get tenacious with Sean Couturier up the middle? Because again, he's that kind of presence. Or you got the tenacious Konechny, who's, he's like a hound dog on that puck.
Yeah, right.
And then you got Lindblom, who's just a phenomenal passer. Like, his ice vision is just... He can help out the team on the power play, which I like to believe. I have reason to believe.
Okay, I like that. You have quite a lot of creativity up there. You have the shorthanded and Sean Couturier. You only have one demon though with Ivan Provorov, and you have Claude Giroux back there manning the other point. Which, okay, I that's kind of where he's made most of his from that position out there on that far right side or far left side. You know what I mean? So all right, I can see that on the P1. Okay.
And keeps him on the left hand side too.
Yeah, no, I get you with that. You know what I mean? Because especially the offhanded shot and everything too. And then I can understand why you have the guys there because of particularly with Lindblom, his ability to pass and stuff. So yeah, I can see that. We might see some combinations of that. You just never know. Especially with AV, and especially if the power play doesn't do well. So Joe, on your on your power play 1, you got Oscar Lindblom, which is, hey, what do you know? Sean Couturier, hey, what do you know? Travis Konechny, well, hey, Sean Gostisbehere, and Philip Myers. So why do you have your power play 1 missing the great Giroux?
Well, we'll see that in a second when we get to the second power play unit. But
I know. I just had to say that.
The first one, I think there's a lot of depth on this team. It allows you to move Giroux to the second and give him less ice time himself now that he's getting older, so he doesn't have to be.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a great point.
Out there himself. I think putting Ghost with Myers. Myers, I think, is ready to take a big leap this year, so he'll be able to play the best 200-foot game now in his third full season that he's played, because his development has just moved quick. This is only he played 21 games a couple years ago. Then he played a kind of full season. Then he played this kind of full season again. So he's really been developing quick, and I think he's ready to take that gigantic leap this year. And he's saw a lot more special teams play in juniors, so I think he's ready to really see that in the NHL level. And putting him with Ghost allows you to have a right-handed shot at the deep point on the power play partnered with a left-handed shot. So I think that really works well. And I always said this since looking at Myers, he seems to learn from Klingberg a bit and be able to have that slide ability at the blue line to find the open gap to get the shot through. And I think having
Good
guys
vision.
like Hooch that scores great in front of the net, obviously with Oscar, who has great hands in front of the net, and then TK, who's just a pest that's always getting the rebounds and creating nonsense in front of the net. That line can create wonders together because of the D creating offense and just because of rushes with via the PP unit with Lindblom setting. TK
coming up ice.
Yeah. Victoria.
I'll tell you what, man, you guys both have great creative minds here, man, with why you guys have the players that you do on the power play units. And anything is an improvement from last year. So, whatever we do, as long as we start putting the freaking, puck in the net, you know what I mean? I mean, come on. All right. So now you mentioned it, Joe. And we said, the great Claude Giroux was not in the top power play unit for Joe, but you do have him in the second power play unit. And you have him there with JVR, Kevin Hayes, Joel Farabee, Eric Gustafson. So in your second power play line, you did what Ryan did on his first power play line, where you have four forwards and one defenseman. Okay. So now why is your power play unit 2 look like this?
Well, because we have 3 forwards on this line that are going to be able to protect Gus. G has a great full ice game. Farabee has a great full ice game, and so does Kevin Hayes. And then JVR Van Riemsdyk is 50-50 depending on the season, kind of. So
or what mood he's in.
I think that line pairs well together because JVR, in order to get the most out of him, you have to put him on the power play and see what he can do. And if he's able to commit with these types of partners to just being that Mike Knuble-esque guy that he kind of just parks himself in front of the net, because he has the difference between him and Knuble, JVR has much more skilled hands than Knuble. So if he can get it in front of the net, he can do those quick, through the legs or quick putback shots.
He's also a little bit more talented, Knuble.
Yeah, exactly. He's not able to do. He can slide out a little bit and blast a wrist shot from where Braden Shen used to be if he finds an opening.
Yeah, perfect point.
So I think he's good being there, and then having him with Hayes. Hayes has great net for presence and also slide out as well. So they're never going to create too much traffic in front of the net where shots can't get through because they can just communicate well with each other. And then Farabee with these guys, he's already shown enough to be on the one of the top 2 power play units consistently for me. And putting him with JVR, I think will help JVR immensely because Farabee's a great playmaker. And then you have Giroux in the back. He's obviously that great playmaker as well. Giroux's great at that slap pass as well from the point. So I think that will behoove guys that get open in front of the net like JVR and Hayes well. And then Gustafson, obviously, like I said earlier in the video, he's a guy that needs to be on the power play. That's what you got him for. And he's going to be able to create offense paired with all those 4 whizzes there. Pretty easy. It's not going to be too hard for him to get a lot of points.
No, I agree with you on that 100%, man. You know what I mean? And so, I like that. I like how you put that together, though. That does make a lot of sense, and that does give you, some good different types of players for each situation that you're going to face in the power play. You know what I mean? So I like that. Ryan, on your power play unit 2, you have some similarities, and then you have a little bit of a difference. You do also have JVR on power play unit 2 and Kevin Hayes on power play unit 2, but then that's where we kind of go slightly different. Where you go Sam Moran and Shane Gostisbehere and Travis Sanheim on the second power play unit. So why do you have this power play unit set up like this?
I have it that way. It's just more so I want JVR to get those deflections. And again, I feel like he can almost be that kind of guy who can almost teach Sam Moran that kind of stuff. I mean, it's something you don't really want to look for in your power play because, again, your power play should have structure. You should already know what you're doing. But again, when you watched Kevin Hayes last year, his creativity with the puck, or the way he juked and jived and danced with it, it was almost like he opened up the ice. And I feel like a player like Sanheim, who again pinches along the blue line and who makes the puck, he can almost be more creative with it, and he's almost more responsible with it than Gostisbehere. I mean, Gostisbehere's amazing. He can, when he's on the power play, he can find the nitty-gritty areas almost. He can almost put the puck in the dirty areas as well, which is something that JVR and something that we're using Sam Morin for, which is big bodies in front of the net, deflections, and I feel like it's something that we can actually utilize. And using Hayes' size and his creativity with the puck, I feel like that can open up the ice on the power play a heck of a lot more.
Okay. I like what you're thinking there is with getting Sam Morin in front of the net. I mean, he is, what is he, 6'8"?
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems weird putting him on the wing because, I mean,
well,
he's a big guy, but
yeah. But I mean, no, but that would make it, that would give that second unit there, because you have the creativity with Hayes and you have the creativity with Gostisbehere, and then you have the big bodies like JVR and then Sam Morin, and then you also have Travis Sanheim, who can be more of a guy that's gonna, take care of things as well too. So you know what, I like the power play unit on this here for the unit 2. Pretty good breakdown on that. I really liked the different combinations that you guys have, especially in the power play unit. So now let's shift now to the penalty kill. And look, for the Flyers, this is going to be important to me, in my opinion. I think the penalty kill is going to be a huge factor moving forward, because as we all know, the Flyers are not exactly the most least penalized team. Okay, so there's going to be lots of opportunity for the opposition to be on the power play. Okay, so unit 1, okay, you got on your unit here for the penalty kill, Ryan. You have Kevin Hayes, you have Joel Farabee, you have Oscar Lindblom, and you have Travis Sanheim. So why don't you break down why you have those guys on the PK1?
I don't think I meant to put Lindblom on the power play defense at all.
No?
Originally, on my original draft, I actually have Sam Morin.
Okay.
And
That's not a problem.
I feel like the Flyers are a team, again, they're depth heavy. But again, like we were really good in shorthanded last year. I feel like Hayes and what he did shorthanded, like his shorthanded markers were outstanding. They helped us out a ton last year. Having a big body up the middle, causing those disruptions in the neutral zone, causing the disruptions in the opposing team zone. And then like his chemistry, like Joe said earlier, his chemistry with Beezy in the cut, as he likes to call him, Joel Farabee. It's just hilarious because I feel like those two can really have a lot of fun out there, especially on the penalty kill. And I mean, that's the first step, isn't it? Is actually have to have fun and stuff. Like, especially with Hayes. Like, Hayes is just a monster on the penalty kill.
Yeah, that's for sure. He's definitely gonna be chasing after you, and he's definitely tenacious. So you're changing Oscar Lindblom out and putting in
Sam Morin, because again,
Sam Morin. Okay, all right. That was probably my mistake. I probably copied that wrong. So sorry about that.
It's all good.
Okay, no problem.
I was reading it earlier, and then that's where I was confused. I'm so sorry for that.
Okay, yeah, no, it's okay. It happens, man. It happens. So we'll go this again now. So you got Kevin Hayes, Joel Farabee, and Sam Morin, and Travis Sanheim as your PK1. Okay, and I like that. I putting Sam Morin out there because of that big body out there with Sanheim, and all of these guys here are all relatively good skaters and have good speed and can get back well. You know what I mean? So okay, I can see that. That would be a pretty good unit. Joe, on your PK1. Okay. Now, I'm going to make sure I read this right now so I don't mess up again, right? Sean Couturier, Scott Lawton, Ivan Provorov, Philip Myers?
Correct, yes.
All right, cool. So why do you have Couturier and Lawton and Provy and Myers on the PK1?
Well, obviously, Sean Couturier is our Selke winner, so I feel like he should obviously be given the top PK lines, in my opinion, for that reason. And also pairing him with Lawton is one of the more underrated defenders in the league that scores very well defensively. So I feel like if you put those two together, you're just kind of stifling teams before they can potentially even get to your back two. and really pissing off teams at the up front, because Lauden's a lot more peskier defender, where
Yeah.
Couturier is a great defender. Lauden's the guy that just annoys you with the way he plays.
The game versus Ottawa was a perfect example of that, Joe. I would definitely have to agree with that.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
But yeah, say he's just a pest on defense, where Couturier is just an all-around elite defender. And I think obviously Provorov is self-explanatory. He's our top defender, and if you want to keep giving him, since I'm resting him a little bit more in the power play here, where he'll be platooned in, obviously, he definitely can get the top PK minutes in my eyes. And obviously putting him with Myers, you have the speed and the great all-around game that's coming of Philip Myers. I think the way that he just kind of stops the passing lanes and is able to really pound people and block people and use his big frame well can pair well with Provorov, obviously back there, who just can do everything. So that's gonna that line also could lead to some shorthanded ability as well with the offensive skill you also have. Defense on that PK line.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you 100%. And you know what? I really like that idea of putting Scott Laughton with Couturier because of that very reason. Because you know that Sean Couturier is always going to be that steady guy that's always going to play that 200-foot game. And then you can use Scott Laughton to be that guy that's going to be the more creative guy, be that one guy back that's going to forecheck is going to be Scott Laughton, right? Because he also has the speed to keep up with just about anybody coming out of there to get at least to the blue line where he's going to be met with everybody else. You know what I mean? So I like that on the PK one. I like that on the PK one. Both you guys have some different ideas here on how you're doing your penalty kills. So Joe, we'll go back to you here on your second unit. Okay, here you have Hayes and Farabee, and then you have Sanheim and Haig. Okay, on your PK2. So now I think I can understand why you would have Haig there, okay, but why would you have like Joel and Sanheim and Hayes on that PK2?
Well, Travis Sanheim, as I said in another paragraph in my article, is to me the mini Provy on our team. So I feel like he's the guy that's really developing into a great third defenseman that can do it all. We could be a 2, but you're not gonna pair Provy and Sanheim together. I just feel
but that's what I mean. But he's going to be your number 2 guy.
He's gonna be your number 2 guy. Yeah. So I think that putting him on the PK really is going to help him to expand his game, even get more confidence, and I think he's going to be one of the better PKers on the team as well. So I think pairing him with Haig. Haig obviously is the blocker and bruiser, so you add the speed with Sanheim, so you don't have 2 guys that are a little bit slower on their skates there on the defense there. So I think that works out well. And also, I think Joel Farabee, he just showed an ability. He played on the PK last year when he came up. AV showed high trust in him, putting him at times on the PK. So I think now that you have his first full season, you're just going to unleash Farabee and let him do everything. And he's going to flourish in those roles.
Yeah.
So I think you put him there, you allow him to be able to really forecheck well, get the puck up to Hayes, or you allow Hayes to really be able to use his body well and forecheck well to get it to Farabee and clear the zone. This is just a line of a lot of guys that I think are successful along the boards play and being able to just play a full ice game. So I also think this is another line that if you cards go right while you block a shot can also create good opposing rushes for shorthanded goals as well. So.
Yeah, those are great points too, man. And I really like that idea too. And I do agree with you with Travis Sanheim. He is that. I think he's that number 2 defensive guy. I think he's going to be our second best defensive player on the ice. And you don't want to put your 2 top defenders on the same pairing. You know what I mean? So you want to try to spread those guys out. So yeah, I agree with you. He's the number 3, but really he's the number 2. But you know, okay. So on your PK unit 2, Ryan. You have Sean Couturier, Travis Konechny, Robert Haig, and Ivan Provorov. So explain to me why you have these folks here on this power play unit or power killing unit 2, penalty killing unit 2.
It was a lot like what Joe said about the Farabee. I mean, it was just like Konechny. He's more tenacious, but I feel like Coots can also be that guy too. Like, I mean, Coots is phenomenal penalty killing. He's a good 2-way centerman. He plays the game really well. And then I feel like Robert Hagg, he's one of the guys who likes to put the body on, do his job, and then get off the ice. And I feel like Provorov, who's a guy who can be that quarterback. I mean, you don't necessarily need a quarterback on the penalty killing unit, but again, Provorov, he sees the ice so well, he can almost communicate to the players out there and tell them. Like, Provorov, I felt like, I mean, he's on the ice all the time. I felt like it would be better just to put him on the second pair.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying there, because that kind of gives that, it kind of backs him away a little bit, you know what I mean? So he's not on every single unit, you know what I mean? So that gives him, being on the second power play unit too. So
and a lot like my first unit, I felt like the team needed more speed because again, they're very tenacious. They can be very tenacious if they wanted to, and I feel like they got the defense that where they can actually back it up and actually do some penalty killing, and that's why I went.
Yeah, cool. No, I agree. I think that both of you guys have made real great points about what this team is going to need moving forward with the penalty kill. And I agree with both of you guys that we're going to need speed. We're going to need guys that can block shots and guys that are not afraid to do that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think we're also going to need guys that are not afraid to bang bodies and do those kinds of things that need to be done. And I think we're bringing some of those types of players in with moving Moran around and then having Sanheim kind of be that number 2 guy with Provorov and bringing back Philip Myers, I thought was a really great move for the Flyers. Look, they're going to have a scrimmage here later today, and I wanted to talk about these lines because you guys both put out 2 or 3 really great articles about the line combinations here. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to give you guys each an opportunity to discuss why you guys selected each player for each line. So tonight we're going to see a little bit of an interconference squad or scrimmage today, right? And then we're dropping the puck in 3 days. Okay. So I'm excited.
Good news. Yeah, good news for Pittsburgh today is they were actually able to run their own scrimmage this season. So it seems like their COVID protocols are going okay. So
good deal. So it looks like the game is going to be on then.
Yeah, as long as everything keeps going
for the first game. Okay, good. So this has been the SteelFlyers Show. We'd like to thank Joe, the Professor Joe Borek, for joining us. Joe, how can we get all of your great stuff? Where can we find all your great articles? Where can we follow you and all that?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Of course, on the great SteelFlyers.com, you can find all my great stuff. On Twitter, you can follow me. And if you want to talk some hockey, I don't always answer right away, but I'll get back to you eventually. You can DM me at JJBorick26. It might take a couple days, but I'll get back to you. And then we, of course, have my Sports Fanatic News YouTube page at the Great Steel Flyers, and Ryan has also appeared on as well, and we'll have them on again in the future. This was a very fun video, though, guys. Thanks for having me on. I love talking about Flyers hockey, and it's really exciting that we're right on the brink. To use an analogy of a Flyers player, Bobby Brink dominated the
gold medal.
So we're right on the brink. Congratulations, Bobby and Cam, by the way.
Yep.
We're right on the brink of the season, and I think we're really good to see also, before we end this, a lot of great progression from our prospects, whether they're in college or whether they're in the juniors, if they're able to come back and play, and the AHL this year, because this team is just moving really well in the right direction.
Couldn't agree with you more. Ryan, Renaud, thank you very much for joining us. You're a new writer up and coming here on FlyersNittyGritty.com. Yeah.
Yep.
And we really enjoyed having you on here for your first show on the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. I really liked your article there with the lines. Looking forward to some more stuff that you got. So how can we get a hold of you, or how can we follow you? Where can we find your great stuff?
You can find me at nittygritty.com, or you can also follow me on, as Joe said, YouTube. It's at cypher5113 at Gmail. And you can also catch me at my email at cypher5113 at gmail.com.
All right. Super duper. Man, I can't wait to do this again, like maybe in a little couple days after we get that first game. And I'd like to come back and revisit this and see what the
creativity.
Outcome, see what the outcome looks like. You know what I mean? So Thanks, guys, for joining us on this
Thank
show.
you.
We've got a lot of great information coming out here for you. Got some new sponsorships coming and all kinds of great information. Check us out at SteelFlyers, www.steelflyers.com. You can follow me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Just remember, folks, stay safe, stay strong, and hang tough.